Hello, everybody. Thank you again for joining us for day 2 of Surviving Life with a Narcissist. Just one housekeeping item, and that is please mute yourselves. And if you have a question or a comment, you can just send it in the chat.
Yes, welcome back for day 2. Day 1 was great. You all had some good questions, so the pressure's on to do it again today.
Yep.
Okay,
Perfect.
so
Okay.
ready for day 2? Here we go. So yesterday, if you remember, we talked about the 4 types of narcissism. And today we're going to, so in the future, we should probably have a slide saying this is what we talked about yesterday and just a summary slide.
Yep.
So today we're talking about damage to self-worth and self-esteem. So being with a narcissist is difficult enough, but what does it do to you? So for some folks that have been in relationships with a narcissist and that person is exposed to you, you really understand who they are and what they're doing. You know, how many times have you had to lie to protect others from that person? How many times have you had to, create a false narrative or cancel plans or do something that you did not feel right about? You'll often have to be that go-between. You'll have to be the person in the middle where you try to protect other people from the narcissist, and do whatever you can to make your narcissist look as good as possible. You have to do this to keep life moving, right? Because you have friends, you have coworkers, you have family, and you want to make sure that you are doing what you can to protect those people, but also it's to protect yourself, right? Because you don't necessarily want those people questioning you and questioning your choices. Part of it's about our pride and everything else. Another part of it is because that narcissist expects us to toe the line and to be the person they want us to be, to make them look like the person that they feel they are. So this relationship, when you have a relationship with a narcissist, it impacts everyone in your life, from parents, children, partners, friends, co-workers. It's very widespread.
It is, yeah. And I'm glad that, Bob, you clarified that when we talk about protecting others from the narcissist, it's not necessarily from them damaging other people. It's from you're really protecting yourself from others seeing the narcissist for what they are, for questioning, because then, at the end of the day, they're questioning you and your decision to be with them. So we're protecting ourselves because we're already feeling shame, right?
Yep.
We know that whatever it is that they're doing, the way that they're treating us, the way that they're talking to us, is not right. It doesn't feel right. And if it's been a year or if it's been 10 years, it's been, it's really taken a toll. But over time, people who are in a relationship with a narcissist get really good at, coming up with the excuses and the story.
Yeah.
A lot of people in a relationship with a narcissist will explain the narcissist behavior away with their story about their difficult childhood. Oh,
yes.
He or she has been through a lot. He or she, right? So you'll find yourself telling, friends and family, well, he wouldn't tell you this, but his mom was really hard on him growing up. Or he was in an abusive relationship. So, and that's a way to really cushion it. And that's protection.
Yep.
Right. And that keeps the narcissist happy because you're the buffer. You've always been the buffer and you continue to be. So,
and a lot of times when sorry to interrupt, but a lot of times when you have that, when you're telling everybody, hey, he wouldn't say or she wouldn't say this to you, but this is what's happened to them and this is why they're behaving like this. It actually takes those folks and and while it's not doing the damage to them that it's doing to us or doing to the person that's with the narcissist, it is still feeding that narcissist, because those people then treat that person differently, right? They feed into that ego. They feed into that need to be the center of attention and to be, whatever it is that they're looking for, that feeds into that need. So we create this, we basically become an accomplice to their stories, so that they get what they need to keep them happy, so that there's less destruction among the people that's in our orbit.
Yes, absolutely. Good point. Okay. Okay.
All right. Any questions on this, how it can damage you, or does anybody have any comments on how it has damaged them in the past? Okay.
Before you move on, Bob, I just want to add that
Sure.
that our need to do this also becomes isolating. So this creates distance between the victim and their own friends and family. So it starts to become easier to actually not be with other people. It starts to become easier to just bow out of
Yes.
plans and things. And also there's just that distance because we can't be really honest with people that we've always been completely honest and transparent with and never judged us. And all of a sudden we have become very different in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. So how do we repair from that? So Erica, tell us how we repair from that.
Well, the first challenge, the biggest step, of course, is extracting yourself from the relationship and staying away, right? Because most people who are in a relationship with a narcissist have tried. They've tried, they've gone back, they've tried, and so staying away is of course, the biggest step. It's the hardest thing to do. So assuming we're going to go with, people who have been able to extract themselves completely from the relationship once and for all. So how much time is required to just be alone after ending a relationship with a narcissist? Is it different from the time that it takes at the end of any relationship? And I don't know if it takes longer, but it's definitely fraught with a lot more challenges than most people know. If they have not ever experienced the relationship with a narcissist, they won't get it. They won't get it. So it really is important. I think it's important after any relationship to spend time alone. Alone, not meaning completely cut off from people.
Not isolated.
Not isolated,
yeah.
But being single and not attached to anyone. And being able to say out there in the world, no, I don't have a partner. I don't have a boyfriend or girlfriend. It's just me. And it's hard, but doesn't take that long to be able to say it and feel comfortable saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does it take a while to actually enjoy that? Yeah, it does. It does. But I know that, we both have seen people, all of our therapists have seen people who are at the very beginning of their time away, so they broke up with someone a week ago, 2 weeks ago, even, a couple months, still feels new and it's very uncomfortable. So that's the time when people are very likely to, drunk dial or reach out for any reason, just, yeah, right? But, it doesn't require, anything at all. It just requires a moment of weakness, a moment of longing. People will say, I don't want to get back with him or her. I just want to connect. I just want to say hi. I just want to make sure that we're still good and that I just want to tell him or her that, I'm always going to be there for them. I call them on that. No way. That is not what this is about. It's not because you just want this to end nicely. No, it's because you're not feeling good right now in this moment today, and you're wanting some response that's going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
That may not be a response, which is, I want to see you. The response that's only, I miss you, is sometimes all that you need. And then boom, mood is lifted for the rest of the day, right?
Yeah.
So that period of time is important for anybody. When you've been in a relationship with a narcissist and you've extracted yourself, that's a whole new set of challenges.
Yeah.
So in learning to enjoy your own company, it's really getting to know yourself again.
Absolutely, because you've changed so much as we talked about the last slide, having to be that buffer. Maybe somebody that was always very honest with their friends and family is now turned into somebody that has to weave these tales to support their partner. They have to sit in their reality where they're at now and figure out, how do I put my life back together? Because their life before in the relationship was built around that narcissist. So they started losing at the beginning of that relationship. Through the time it ended, they started losing little pieces of themselves. And so now when you are out of the relationship and you're trying to figure out, who am I now? Because that relationship changes you a little bit. And how much it changes you is based on how much work you're willing to do to recover yourself, to recover the person that you were, or to say, okay, this is the person I want to be, and start working towards that. So it's a big difference. It's week, months for a normal breakup. Something like this, I mean, could be a lot longer. I mean, I don't know. I know, Erica, in the past we've talked, and there are people that we've seen that have taken, probably a year or two to really fully get to a point where they feel recovered and ready to move on.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And one of the most important things that a victim of this kind of relationship, one of the most important things that they need to do is begin to step up and tell the people who they care about, this is what I needed to do in order to stay in that relationship. I wasn't completely honest with you.
Yeah.
It was hard, and I didn't even realize at the time the toll that it was taking on me, but it was. But I'm here, and I want to get back to a real honest relationship with you. That's not going to involve, having to protect someone else's ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and excuse me. Um, with that, I mean, that comes now, you're having to rebuild trust and rebuild old relationships. So you have that piece, right? With friends, family, whatever. But then there's also the relationship with yourself, because you have for so long have been under that spell of that narcissist, that you probably have a lot of doubts about yourself that aren't even true anymore, or not anymore, but that aren't even true. So learning to live with yourself, enjoy your own company, like you said, to be able to say, okay, I'm not with anybody, but it's more of, when you are by yourself, working through those insecurities that you have, that person has planted into your psyche, so that you can move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. And of course, therapy, right? It's so important to go for therapy if you need to. And I think that I think everyone on the planet needs therapy, but especially if you've been in a relationship with a narcissist, it would be really helpful to get that help in understanding why and how you got into that relationship in the first place, and understanding, really dissecting, you know, the beginning, the middle, the end of the relationship, and how it changed you mentally, emotionally, physically, in every aspect. It's really important, and just really helps a lot. Um, no, it's not absolutely necessary to go to therapy, to get that, but it helps a lot,
Mhm.
to work with a therapist who understands, um, narcissism and understands and can help you really, untangle all of that with you.
So a question that we have is realistically, how long does it take to recover from that? And I think from my perspective, the answer is it depends. How long were you in the relationship? How abusive was the person, right? Because there's so many different degrees of it. What is the impact that it's had on your life? And again, looking at those four pieces at the bottom: mentally, emotionally, physically, and socially. Like unfortunately there's not a recipe, there's not a cookie cutter answer. But it also has to do with the desire you have to be able to move forward. One of the things too that I was kind of surprised about when I started doing this work was the number of people that were strong and independent that got sucked into this person's
Vortex.
vortex. There you go. Thank you. Because it's, you think of narcissists where they do primarily are attracted to the codependent type, and we'll get into a little bit more of that. But it's when you have somebody that is strong and is confident and is smart, and they somehow get pulled in, and the damage that it does to that person is even. I don't want to say it's more severe, but it's just to plug in that change and that kind of a personality, it takes a lot. And it takes even more to get it back, to be able to return to that person that you were.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A client that I worked with several years ago comes to mind for me. Very, very accomplished, successful, bright, intelligent woman who literally really turned her life completely inside out and left her husband, divorced him to be with her narcissist. Her son was young.
Wow.
Her son was, I don't know, maybe about 6 years old at the time. And her marriage was, yes, her marriage was not in a good place. And they were separated at the time. But I do think that the marriage could have stood a chance, for them really working on it and reconciling. I think the marriage could have stood a chance if she didn't meet this narcissist. And so her life completely, and she saw me for a couple of years, and that's because despite her accomplishments, her success, she still had to see him at work, the narcissist.
Oh boy.
And going through daily life and being in, the leadership position that she was in, even though he didn't work under her, having to see him, having to see his car, things like that. She was still getting triggered.
Oh, every day, I imagine.
Every day she was still getting triggered, and it took a lot. She's doing fantastic now. But it was a lot of work and it was very painful. And she would say to me, Dr. Karlinsky, I cannot believe that I still have these, like, it's PTSD. She talked about post-traumatic stress symptoms that she would have when, she would be driving around. Actually, going to work wasn't as bad as being out, and when she would be surprised by the
Yeah.
sight of him, and she would be on the road and see his car, and her whole nervous system completely, she got so fired, and she almost went into fight or flight.
Yeah.
And it was so long after,
Mm-hmm.
she extracted herself. She wasn't talking to him. She was really, really, really doing well, but he still had that, that potential. So I would say that the healing process doesn't necessarily take, a couple months or a couple of years. I would say it's very definitely a gradual process, right? So even if you're able to, find yourself again, feel confident again, you have self-worth and self-esteem, and you're enjoying your own company and friends, and then you're ready to actually be in a new relationship, even being in a new relationship is going to, there's still potential to be triggered.
Mhm.
Even then.
Yeah, I think it's for some folks, it is definitely a lifelong struggle. It's continually, just trying to work and maintain your focus and everything else. But like everything that's PTSD related, you can have something years down the road that you see and it triggers. It could be even a relational memory, right? Like a smell or a scent or a song or something that just takes you right back to that moment. So it does require some constant vigilance, I think,
Yes.
for a lot of folks.
Yes. Any
Okay.
questions or comments about that? Okay.
So back to still repairing. So a goal of therapy should be to learn about codependency. So we talked a little bit about this in the last slide. So codependents attract narcissists attract codependents. So it's a match made in hell, right?
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't use, so sorry. I think you can all still hear me, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I'm back. I apologize. Okay, so I know that a lot of people don't understand the real meaning of codependency, and I want to make sure that that's clear. I don't like the term codependency because it sounds like two people who are dependent on each other, and that's
Yes.
not what it is. So codependency is when an individual, because of the way that they were brought up, because of their childhood and their adolescence, they become a people pleaser to the extreme. And so the codependent grew up, maybe child of an alcoholic, maybe child of a parent who was verbally abusive, and a chaotic childhood will typically result in some degree of codependency. And what that means is as a child and an adolescent, it helps for us to be able to read the room really, really well and know exactly what everybody in our orbit is feeling, right? So if a child is coming home from school or coming home from, being out with friends, being able to read their parents' mood like that in a split second, or even just feeling their energy, it helps, right? It helps them to know, I need to stay away, I need to do this, I need to do that. It becomes so automatic. So the codependent has learned to make everybody else's emotional well-being priority, much more important than their own. And the codependent actually believes that they're really happy when everybody else is happy. And they'll say, no, it really makes me happy. It's all I want. So, a lot of people enter into, marriage and then families, and they put everybody else's, don't look at me, I don't care, whatever you want, whatever you want, whatever you want. Well, when a narcissist and a codependent meet, why are they drawn together? They're drawn because the narcissist wants all of their needs met by
Yes.
the other person. And the codependent really wants to meet everybody else's needs. So the narcissist is happy because the codependent is living to make them happy.
Yes.
And if the narcissist is happy, then the codependent's happy. And then everyone's happy and it works so well. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Why doesn't it stay beautiful? Because it doesn't. Because eventually what typically happens is that the codependent starts to wake up and say, wait a second, I have needs too.
Yes.
And why isn't that important to you? And that's when things really start to clash a lot. So I think that's really, really important to understand why a people pleaser slash codependent is going to be very drawn to a narcissist, and vice versa. And it works for a period of time, and it works beautifully for a period of time.
Absolutely. And when that codependent person wakes up, like you said, they realize I'm doing all of this for you. And usually it's because they need something. They may need support when a parent dies. And the narcissist might say, well, wait a minute, like make sure if we're going there, we stay at the hotel I like. Make sure that you get this flight, right? And that person then breaks and say, I am grieving, I'm dealing with all this, and you're worried about the hotel. You're worried about the flight. You can't take care of me. You can't do all this stuff. And that's when that codependent wakes up. And then, as you said, it starts to go off the rails, and it starts to go off the rails fast, because then they see really what they've been with and what they've fallen into this relationship with, and they realize that so many lies and illusions, and it's not real, because it's not two-way, it's all one way. So yeah, those codependents, it's that's the piece to see. That's the piece that when we see people, and we see a lot of these people, it's so heartbreaking, because you see everything that they've done. They've bent over backwards. They wore purple socks on Thursdays. They cook the favorite meal. They do all of these things that just seem ridiculous. And once that veil is lifted for them, and they see just how much ridiculousness they've been a part of, they get angry, and then it's the clash. So the question that just popped up, Erica, is about and I guess because I said the word angry. So what's the I think here's fear factor, but what is the fear that somebody in a relationship with a narcissist should have? Like, is there, when they break that, when they open up their eyes and realize what's going on, and they go to extract themselves from that relationship, should they be afraid?
I think the best answer is yes. Of course, some narcissists will go to extremes of, smear campaigns,
Mm-hmm.
going on social media, posting things about the other person very personally. They won't be general about it. They will go so far as to, call places of employment. I
Mm-hmm.
know a bunch of people who that happened to. They will call places of employment. They won't stop until they get a new supply. And that's, the supply is, also one of those terms that's, in the, narcissist language community, which a lot of people, if they're on, probably know. So the narcissist needs someone else to they need another codependent. And so they'll go out of their way to make sure that they hurt the person, because the narcissist will respond with rage. They just will. They'll respond with rage if you pierce the ego of a narcissist, and abandoning or rejecting a narcissist is piercing the
Yes.
veneer of their ego. If you pierce the veneer of a narcissist's ego, you're going to be hit with rage. Now, what rage means for that narcissist is hard to say. Yeah. So most important thing to do when your narcissist has become angry is not escalate, but also not give in, just to keep them happy. So making sure you're safe, physically safe, of course, always. If it
Yes.
means staying with someone for a week or two, a month or two, sometimes that's necessary, not always. Putting up cameras, around your own house, because narcissists will do things just to haunt you.
Yes.
They will, I know several people whose narcissists left things, little things at their home, a little token, on the driveway, or a little token, on the lawn. Just a little reminder, I was here and I'm watching you.
And I can come here anytime I want to.
And it's a way for the narcissist to get back some of that control, some of
Yep.
that they lost. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that if you're in that relationship and you're looking to, extract, right? One of the best things you have to do, you have to plan it out. It's not like a regular, breakup where if you have and you get to the point where you say, okay, that's it, and you move on. Um, you have to really kind of plan that. You have to have that escape route, right? So that you have the support of somebody that you can go and stay with, and that you can extract yourself from things. And even, this brings to mind a client from a few years back that she even went to her employer, because she connected with this man, and watched him do all of these things to his ex-wife. And
Mm-hmm.
he painted his ex-wife as just this horrible, awful person, and that he needed to do this to basically protect himself. And then as they were breaking up, he said, I know what knowing what you do for a living, in the public eye, know what you do for a living, and all I have to do is call your employer, and you won't have a job anymore. All I've got to do is, and just threatened all of these things around her security, right? Financial security. So she actually had to go in. She chose to go in and tell her bosses, like, this is what I'm dealing with. If you get these calls, this is what it is.
Yes.
Um, so it's just basically preparing as much as you can for that onslaught of that rage. Not to say that that's going to make it hurt less, but at least it's going to minimize the damage to your world.
Yes. And doing that preventatively, right?
Yes.
So if you're considering, if you know that you're going to be extracting yourself once and for all for good, telling friends, telling family, asking for people to, check on you, letting them know where you can be at all times and when you're actually doing this. And yes, going to your employer and coworkers,
Yes.
asking people to walk you out to your car. It's not because every narcissist is going to respond, in any kind of way that's violent,
Yeah.
but it's important to, just be safe, for a period of time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap up this piece for today, and then we can take some additional questions. So kintsugi is a Japanese art form, and it's basically meaning embracing the flaws and imperfections, so that you can create an even stronger, more beautiful piece of art. So what, like in this example here, this heart dish was broken, and when they put it back together, they used gold to form it back together rather than glue, to obviously create something beautiful. And it is stronger because it's not just glue that could easily chip apart. This is, when we talked about having to move forward, and doing so and rebuilding yourself, this is what we're talking about. So this plate is still a heart plate. However, it is different. It's more evolved. It's stronger. So understanding who you were and the person you wanted to be, or the person that you were before that relationship, the person you want to be now going forward, and taking what you can from the experience with that narcissist and making yourself stronger, making yourself a better version of that, a 2.0, if you will, because of that. So it's not all doom and gloom. You will get through it, and you will be able to come out the other side stronger and better, and more
And better
beautiful.
for the next relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. The next healthy relationship.
Yeah. And most importantly, yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So any
Okay.
any other questions, any comments?
Thank you all
Yeah.
for being here. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.